You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sherisse Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader. The Oxford Dictionary describes permission as the action of officially allowing someone to do a particular thing, consent, authorization. What if you were that someone and you gave yourself the permission to be everything you wanted to be and more? No more playing small and accepting less than. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, regardless of what it is that you've been through. And honestly, it's exactly what you've been through that has shaped you into the version of yourself that you are now. Like a diamond, you've endured so much, but instead of breaking, you have become stronger and brighter. And if that's not a reason to shine, then I don't know what is. And if nature can do it, then why the hell can't you? You are brave, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are enough. Hear my call and give yourself the permission to shine, because you don't realise how many people are inspired by your light. Hi everyone, this is episode 36 and I am so excited to have with me today the lovely Jacquie that is from the company Bailey Roo.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. And Jacquie is another amazing woman that's part of the mastermind that I'm in. So yeah, it was only fitting that I had her come in and tell us her story and all of the things. So yes, Jacquie, the floor is yours. Who are you? What do you do?
So I've basically only ever been in creative roles, but right now I am a brand strategist, designer and mentor. So I help with all of the pretty visual elements of building a brand, but also the more strategy side of it. So obviously I worked in creative roles before having my children. Then when I had my first child, I was a full-time mum for, I think it was 6 months. And I was just like, it's lovely, but it's not for me. I need more. Like I need to be using my brain, and going back to work just wasn't an option. My boss just wouldn't allow me to go back part-time. So it was like basically full-time or not at all. So I chose not at all and then set up my own business. And yeah, the rest is kind of history really. So yeah, I've just kind of worked my way along to where I am now over the years. And yeah, it's just a constant evolving journey really.
I think that's the thing with business, isn't it? Like I'm learning that myself, I guess because I've spent so many years of my life being a sole trader and a freelancer as a performer, that I didn't really have any idea about business. So it's only been this year that I've started this, and even just the start of my journey and in this and what I was wanting to achieve has completely transformed in this year alone. So I can only imagine adding in having children and like all of these other factors to be even more of a reason why I guess business has to work for you and you don't work for your business, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really interesting now that with this whole digital world that there are more options open to us to be able to earn money and actually provide for our families and stuff. You don't have to do the whole 9 to 5 thing. And I just think it's so refreshing. But it's really interesting as well that even now at schools, they still kind of funnel children into this same path of you need to do these exams and go to uni and all of this kind of stuff. And I was told myself that I never wanted to go to uni. It just wasn't something that really interested me at all. I was always very independent and wanted to work. And I remember being at school and wanting to just working in the media, like a creative role. And I was told by several teachers, well, if you want a job like that, you need to go to university and study it. And I just thought, no, I don't. Like, I'm going to do it my way. So I didn't, and actually landed my dream job in a photography studio within 6 months. So yeah.
Amazing. And that's really it, isn't it? Because I think I speak a lot about this schooling system because where I'm in and out of school so much that I see how everything is so formation, like it's almost like I think school was set up like decades ago for people to work in factories. Now they're set up for people to work in an office or an employed role, so there isn't any freedom or education even in economy, like we don't not economics, that's what I'm trying to say, but we don't get taught what mortgages are and all of these things, and it is like we're missing out on
basic life skills, isn't it?
Absolutely. That, and like algebra, I can't remember the last time I got out the pi and worked that out for my life. Do you know what I mean?
Like Pythagoras, what's that all about?
Exactly that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, one thing that I do actually vouch for at school is the different triangle shapes, because for some reason that comes up in quizzes all the time and I seem to remember it. I think it's because I've got a photographic memory, so if I see the image I can remember what it is. But yeah, that's the only thing that I feel like I've benefited from. Because even doing my own taxes and stuff for so many years, that's been something I've learned as I've been going along. That wasn't something I knew or got taught really. So yeah, it really is that we're all funneled into this 9 to 5 rhetoric, and it doesn't serve so many people, you know. But then I think you know, a bit of a controversial topic on that is the fact that we're easier to manage, aren't we, when we all do the same thing. So when we're all doing different things, we're harder to yeah, I guess manipulate is probably the right word. But yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, tell me about your journey then. So, you know, like where it started, kind of what shaped you into this version of yourself. So let's talk about kind of like where the creativity came from, like maybe you're growing up, you know, like all of that. Just have the floor now. Just open up.
I have always been creative. I take after my dad on that front. My mum's just not creative at all, but my dad was always really into drawing and painting and all that kind of stuff. So I just obviously inherited that from him. And like even from a 2-year-old, I would spend my days just sat drawing at the table. Like I just always loved it. Obviously loved all the creative subjects of school, so went down that route. I did my A levels at school, which was art, photography and fashion textiles. Like I just really, like, I came alive when I was doing the creative subjects. And for me personally, the more what I would call the academic subjects where you had to do exams and stuff, like I just find exams so hard. Like I would be one of those people that would revise so much, but the second I sat down in an exam room, everything went out my head. Like I just really found them hard. Whereas the creative side of it, where I could just bring up my personality and just have that freedom, and I think that's what it is for me. And even now I'm all about creating freedom for my clients, and I think that is just such a core value of mine that I probably only realized in the last few years, but I've just always had that. That's why I obviously had those subjects that were my favorites at school. So yeah, had a couple of jobs in photography, worked in creative content production for some leading retailers. And then when I had my first child, I knew I wanted to be creative. Couldn't go back to my job that I absolutely loved. Like it just wasn't an option. I think it's really interesting actually, that in itself, that now it's so, with the whole work from home, like post-pandemic, it's an option now, whereas before it just wasn't. Like I loved my job, I was really good at it, and actually because it was a global company I worked for, I could have done my job from home, but because there was this whole fear around people that work from home aren't doing their work, it just then became not an option for me. So I ended up having to leave a job that I absolutely loved. It was either choosing my child and spending time with her or working, and obviously that's a no-brainer as a mother. So yeah, I was forced out of a job I really loved, but I was like, well, I want to do something creative. I want to have that financial and time freedom. I want to be here with my kids, but I also need something that allows me to do something for other people and just have that almost release. So I was asked to do some wedding stationery designs for some friends, and that's kind of where I got started in my own business. So I set up a wedding stationery design business that did really well. I ran that for nearly 6 years, 5 years actually, and became a multi-award winning designer in my field. Like I did really well and I absolutely loved it, but I was always left feeling like I wanted more. Like I genuinely love to help other people, and I think the fact that I was doing these really pretty designs for brides and I was helping them on that basis that they wanted to have really nice stationery, but then once they had their stationery it was kind of job done and they went off, got married and had their own lives, whereas I was like, there's just something missing from this. And then because my past skills was in like brand content creation, which at the time I hadn't really thought about, that's what all of my past jobs had been, even though it was photography and like YouTube management and all of these different areas, I never thought of them as being, well, all of that stuff I've done is brand content. Like that's what I'm a specialist in. It's what I've spent my whole working career doing. So I set up Bailey Roo, and yeah, I got bookings straight away, like for photography and branding, like logos and websites and stuff. And I thought, actually, this is making me like happier than the wedding stationery, because I'm actually doing something to help other people. Like, it's helping them to create a business that is going to bring them in clients and make them money and all of that kind of thing. And seeing some of the businesses that I worked with right at the very beginning of my journey of Bailey and Roo, how they're thriving now online, like it's just so rewarding that I get to see that part, and I've been part of their journey. So that's where I kind of got to with Bailey and Roo, but it's not been an easy journey at all. And I think as entrepreneurs and with the whole like Instagram thing, you feel like you're pressured into only sharing the good stuff and stuff that's going really well for you in your business, because nobody's going to buy from you if you're only ever sharing, oh, this hasn't gone well this week, or this launch failed, or I'm going through a really rubbish time at home. So yeah, I've had like a real journey. And I think for me, the hardest part was between having our first and second child, because I did have multiple miscarriages. And for me personally, that was such a traumatic time, and I'd never been through any kind of trauma before in my life. So for me to go through that, and I'm a planner, like I love to think, right, if we're going to have a child now, like, 'cause we conceive with our first really easily, all fine. Second one just wasn't that journey. And I think for me, I lost that control, because I just planned, right, I want to have a child then, and this is when they'd be born, and that's going to work really well around this thing that's going on in our lives. And the fact that didn't work, and then it kind of spiraled out of control, that I just had repeated miscarriages whilst trying to run a business and look after our other child. And it was a really traumatic time, and I never shared it because I just thought nobody's going to want to hear about that story because it's depressing. And actually, when I did start talking about it, like I felt that release for myself, but I was helping other people, and it was really interesting. And now when I hear of other people going through a similar thing, I'm always like, just talk about it, because you don't realize how much it helps other people as well to cope. And it's just very interesting, I think, as an entrepreneur, because I'm all about building personal brands. So the person behind the business, like, you are your brand. And I think that is part of my journey and part of my story that I can share with other people. And yeah, I've been through this hard time, and lots of other people have been through hard times, but you can still have a business at the end of it and have a life that you've got all this freedom and love and happiness around it. It doesn't dictate like your path or your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, because that is such a common story for so many, women, let
Yeah.
alone business owners. And I think you're so right, and this is really kind of what this platform is for, is to be able to share this stuff that is real, And
Yeah.
I think, for us as women, like, we shy away from talking about periods or menopause or miscarriages because we feel it almost like a little bit of shame. We don't really want
Yeah.
to talk about it. But actually, what I feel like's changed with social media in the world is that we do want to hear about that. We do
Yeah.
want to hear that you are real and you're not just shiny, like it is that actually I struggled to get out of bed this morning. This is the second time this has happened in a row, and I'm struggling to be here, but I'm showing up for you. Like,
Yeah.
people will resonate so much more with that over everything's amazing, I'm doing so
Yeah,
well. Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
It's like, and that's the thing, right? It's I even hate the tone of voice that some people put on when people do this thing where they're like, everything's so great, oh my god, yeah, it's amazing, I'm doing so well. Like, for me, I hate that. And I know that
Yeah.
some people have that way that they sound, so I'm not judging the way people talk. I'm just saying that fake,
Yeah.
like, toxic positivity, I can't
Yeah.
stand it. I would rather someone be on the screen to me crying their eyes out over something that's happened, and it be honest and real and raw, than someone lying to me about what is happening in their life, because no one is
100%.
perfect, and I think the more we can showcase that reality, the more we don't feel other.
Yeah.
Like, I think all of us deserve to, and especially in business. And I think that's why our group's so important, because I think we're all sharing the vulnerability of, like,
Yeah.
actually running a business is bloody hard,
It is.
and it takes real resilience, mind, body and soul. And you need that support of people that are in the same boat. So, I mean, hats off to you for, like, getting through all of this way thus far anyway, like, doing so
Yeah.
well in everything that you do. And I think, yeah, for sharing that is so important. But I guess along your journey, because obviously you've had, like, success in everything you've done, really. I feel
Yeah.
like everything you've put your hand to, you've kind of been pretty successful, really, which has been lovely. But what would you say, like, the obstacles that you've kind of faced in your life that have repeated, what would you say that they've been, and how have you worked through that?
I think for me, the biggest thing that's always held me back and even holds me back now is confidence, which is really interesting. And I think because part of what I do for my clients is building their own confidence, and I do have confidence in my business, and I would say in my life as well. But then there are always times where I'm like, oh, I'm not quite good enough for this, or no one's going to buy that because I'm not as good as that person. And I think it's that constant, like, comparing yourself to others. You can't, I feel like there is no trick in the book that completely wipes that out. And anyone that says they never compare themselves to others, I just don't believe it, because I think there will always be, at some point in your life, there will always be something where you do feel like you're not like the right person to do whatever it is you're doing, or you're not as good as that other person. And I think that has been the hardest thing for me, because even at school, I would never be that kid that would put their hand up. And if I knew the answer, there was always that part of me. It was like, but what if it's not the right answer and I'm going to look like an idiot because I've said the wrong answer out loud? So I just wouldn't do it. Even if I was like 99% sure that was the answer, there was that fear constantly holding me back. And I think it's followed me all the way through my life, really. And I guess that's something I probably need to work on more, with confidence. And I do like journaling and affirmations, all that kind of stuff. But I think there's only so much of that like helps you. I think it's so ingrained into like our DNA, isn't it? And I guess in a way, my parents were exactly the same, and perhaps even their parents as well. It's just one of those things that if you grow up surrounded by this, oh, but they're wealthy because of this and they've had that lifestyle, it's like handed to them on a plate. And hearing all of these kinds of phrases, you then put in your own head that, well, okay, but I'm not destined for that sort of path because that wasn't my childhood, and that you don't, not deserve it, that's the wrong word, but it's that kind of feeling. So I think it is the confidence. And I think even now, like launching things, feeling really excited about it, and then if it doesn't go according to plan, that instant, I'm not good enough, like people aren't buying it because like there's better offers out there, or that kind of thing. So yeah, I think confidence is just such a huge thing, whether you run a business or not. I think it's just, yeah. I remember even going to like baby groups and stuff with my daughter. We moved house when she was a few months old, and joining baby groups to make friends, but not making any friends because they all had their own little groups in there. And I didn't have the confidence. And I'm sure they would have all been so lovely if I'd have just said, like, made conversation or said, oh, should we meet up for a coffee? They probably would have all said, yeah, lovely, like, be really good. But I just didn't have the confidence then to do that sort of thing. So I was living in a new area with no friends around me, with a baby. My mum had moved to Norway. So I didn't have that support network around me. So that was really challenging. And it's just so interesting that so many of the things that have held me back in life in all areas have been due to like lack of confidence.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing that with me, because I do feel like you're not wrong, like in everything you said there, so common, and so many people are holding themselves back, because
Yeah.
that really is what it is. And, you hit the nail on the head there where you said that it was what you've watched from your parents and their parents' parents. So that is actually a learned behavior.
Yeah,
And I feel like for me, it almost seems like a bit of imposter syndrome, because I
definitely.
feel like you have all the skills, you have all the credibility, but you're not wanting to put yourself forward in case you get, maybe made fun of, or looked at like you're silly or something like that.
Yeah.
But the only way you push through that is through to keep doing it. So
Yeah.
every time you get scared, it's about, just making sure you do put your hand up, or you do say the thing, because the worst case scenario is the answer's wrong, or, maybe that isn't what someone else wants or whatever. But I would say I'm probably the opposite to you, as in I'm so extroverted that I'm quite happy to look silly, just putting my idea out there,
Yeah.
but that's something that I've kind of it's almost like reverse trauma, like in our situations where because I was never seen and heard, I felt like I had to raise my hand to be
Yeah.
like listened to. So I feel like yeah, it's the opposite of that. And that's why, like, it's funny because I always say that I've got reverse imposter syndrome. So I like know that I'm the thing. I've got it all. I'm it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like I don't worry about it being wrong or right. It's like I'm just gonna come forward and do this thing. But equally, you're so right, as in, like, we'll always be met with these challenges, because ultimately every layer that you get through, you're going to go through a similar thing, right? So, even starting your business and then now coaching other women, it's like that, for me, that element of what you were talking about from your own experiences is that You know, am I good enough to do this? Am I doing the right thing? You know, it's all of these internal questions. And what you need to do is be searching for reasons as to why you are good at that thing, as to why it has always worked out for you, as to why you are credible and you have enough experience and all of these things. And I think anytime you're in doubt of that, it's just like always building up this case study of reasons why you can do the thing and you are good at it. And for me, you know, I have that complete opposite flip where it's like, if I look silly, I look silly. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's literally my way of doing it. But it's because of, I guess, feeling small for so long that now I'm the complete reverse of it, that I'll just throw myself into it. But equally, I hate launching. Launching is the worst thing ever. I can't stand it. I feel like the cortisol levels in my body just go right, and I'm like, and I don't even like worry that what I'm offering is amazing. Like, I know it is, and I know it's life changing. But equally, you have to meet people where they're at, and that's something that we will never be able to master. I mean, we might, but needs, wants, you know, where people are at in their own lives, it's going to always change. It's always going to evolve. And I think I feel like what I've learned is we don't appeal to everyone, but we'll appeal to the right specific people. And I think that's been something I've kind of learned through this journey. But equally, I'm only sort of a year in, so I've not done a million launches to be able to give you that. And I'm sure in like 5 years time I'll be able to tell you the exact formula of what works. But you know, I think ultimately people are going to change and their needs are going to change for every stage of their lives.
I think every single launch, like every launch I've ever done to date in my business has gone totally differently, even if I've used the same method from a previous time. It's just it's what's going on in the world, like how people are using social media, and obviously that is constantly changing. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because none of my friends have their own business. They all work the 9 to 5 or part-time and stuff, so they just don't get it. They, like, to them, I'm just a part-timer. Like, I'm just, oh, look at her, she's sat at home all day. Because I think that's what people think. Like, even my own family have assumed that because I'm working at home and it's my own business that I'm not really doing anything. I'm just sat watching TV all day.
Absolutely.
But actually, I'm probably doing way more than I did in my 9 to 5.
100%. I was saying that to my best friends literally yesterday. Like, I'm probably doing about 40 to 45 hours a week on my business, like just fully in it, doing all of the roles at the moment. And I think like when you don't get to see that on the outside, you know, you don't get to see like the big shiny things yet, you're like, what is going on here? But my analogy to this is like Rome wasn't built in a day. So I feel like it's almost like one brick at a time, you know, like where we're building these things sustainably. And actually to us, it looks like we've only just got the structure, but to someone else on the outside, it probably looks like we've built a whole palace. So I think that it depends like how you look at things. But yeah, to a 9 to 5 person, I don't think you'll ever get it. And that's okay that you don't get it, you know, because I think it takes a certain type of person to run their own business for sure. And I think you've got to be so resilient in the fact that it might not work. And I think
it's like, isn't there a stat like 95% of people that start their own business fail, like they don't even make it past the 3rd year? That's enormous.
And that, but then the thing is, society doesn't back up people to own their own business either. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's not as much support, there's not as much grants. Like, I don't think you can sign on the dole if you're self-employed. Like, there's like little things like this that are always happening to kind of deter you from doing your own thing, right? And I think there's nothing, you know, you've got to really want to do it. Even as a dancer, you know, like when I've taught a class and the parents come up to me at the end like, what can she do to like be a professional? And I'm like, she's got to love it more than anything in the world, because I'll tell you what, it will chew you up and spit you back out again, that industry. And it's the same with business. I think it's exactly the same. You know, there's a million people doing what we're doing in this space, probably for longer, but if you know and believe that what you have is more unique or, you know, different, or the way you do it is different to anyone else, there's no reason why you shouldn't be there. And I think it's just reminding yourself of that. But it's hard. And I think that we all talk about, you know, business and it's shiny and lovely. And I think there's a thing on TikTok at the moment, I don't know if you've seen it, and it's like what running a business actually looks like. And it's someone like crying and like all of these like papers everywhere. And then what it looks like running a business to other people, and it's all like shiny and glamorous suits. And I'm like, but that's the reality of everything, right? We
Yeah,
only see,
exactly.
like you said, we only see the parts that everyone wants us to see. So I think having these honest conversations are so important because yeah, you do it because you love it. And I think
Exactly.
there's not many people that get to really, really love what they do. And I think the
Yeah.
fact that we get to do that is amazing, and it's
Yeah.
brave. And I think that should be rewarded always.
100%.
But I guess on this kind of wave that we're talking about here, what do you think was really the moment that you kind of gave yourself that permission to shine? Like, I know obviously you said that confidence always played a part for you, but you know, to really step forward into this version of you and go for it. Like, what was your kind of moment?
I reckon it was, so I can't remember how long I've been running Bailey and Roo, but I was working with a coach who was helping me do my first ever launch, and it was for a live series. It was a 5-day live like mini trainings to then launch an offer of working with me at the end of it. I'd done like the odd live before, but I'd never done like anything like this that was intense with like a whole series. That was terrifying to me. Because I just felt like, well, why would people want to listen to me for 5 days? I know they're only like little videos, but that's 5 pieces of content I need to share. Like, what could I possibly share? Like, I don't know that much stuff. And I think it's amazing because when you've been doing something so long, you know all of these things that you just assume other people know as well. And actually, like, even the most basic thing, the majority of your audience don't have a clue about it. So actually every little thing that you know is a lesson for somebody else. So I did this 5-day series and absolutely loved it. The very first one, I had loads of people on there. And actually, because I was told that when you do a launch like that, the first day you get loads of people watching and then gradually it will dip off over the 5 days and you'll end up with like, I think it was like 20% of the people watching. I still had the same number every single day. So the fact that I was on day 5, I had the same number of people viewing and engaging and saying how amazing it was, and then signed up to what it was I had to offer. I was like, oh my God, this is like this light bulb moment. I was like, this is what I need to do. I need to not just do the design elements, but actually mentor people and help them learn how to build a brand for their business, because there's all these people out there that just don't know how to do it and they've been kind of winging it. So I was like, yeah, just had a huge light bulb moment. And I think that's when it all changed for me. And it's when I started offering like power hours and stuff, which previously I would never have done. And I didn't even have the confidence to do website designs before, because I thought, well, I've designed websites before, but I'm not a website designer. And why would someone book me? But you're always an expert if you've got an audience of people that don't know as much as you. So
absolutely. And I think that you're always an expert because you're always one step ahead of the person that hasn't started yet.
exactly.
So I think for you, like, you're in a prime like spot, and also the work you do is really amazing. So I think that you know, if anyone is listening and is interested, I think, you know, everything that you do offer is a full package, which is great for like anyone starting up, or, you know, people that have got a business but want to rebrand, you know, all of these things.
Yeah.
It's like and also the work you do now is obviously teaching people how to do it themselves, right?
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
think that, you know, you've got so many great offers available, which is amazing because that's what people want. Do you know what I mean? People don't, I don't particularly want to be doing everything that I'm doing in my business right now, but I am, just for the ease of it, really, to be honest.
Exactly.
But as I scale up, probably in this next year, I will have to get more people on board. But, you know, it's people I trust that I think that they're going to know exactly what my like branding is and, you know, my messaging is, you know, like it's very, you've got to be very discerning, haven't you, in this space for sure with business. And I think that, you know, for female business owners especially, I feel like the softness of the way that you do your job is just lovely. I think it's great. And I'm really glad that obviously that was a moment where you felt like, yeah, this is what I should be doing. Because I think it's like, you know, probably that you were Jacquie behind the job, whereas now you're leading with Jacquie, and what you do is like a byproduct of who you are, which is amazing.
Yeah, so I think before it was obviously always related to brand and branding, but I was very much like creating the visuals, like helping you go, like a lot of my clients at the time were Etsy sellers. So they'd just done their logo in like Word, or maybe, I'm not even sure Canva was around then actually. But they designed their own logo and it was like a make do thing, but they didn't want to just sell on Etsy. They wanted to create their own website and launch and do all these amazing things. And have that presence online. So even then it was still about building a brand, but not a personal brand, because they were still hiding. Whereas doing that launch made me realize these people need that confidence. They lack the confidence so much. And I think that's what holds so many business owners back, because they're hiding behind their offers or showing just testimonials or lovely brand photos, but they're not showing the real, like the raw,
absolutely,
like behind the scenes of who they are as a person. And at the end of the day, that is, if you're working with someone on a one-to-one basis, you need to connect with them. Otherwise
100%.
it's a no-brainer, isn't it? If you just get that instant connection, you can't get that just from having static images. Like,
absolutely. And that trust, isn't it? You know, as humans, we you know, we want to feel seen, heard, and understood. But if you're paying some money to someone for an exchange, you do want to trust them in that space, because we've all, you know, especially in this mentoring coaching space, it isn't a teacher telling you what to do. It's like a friend holding your hand, isn't it? You know, like that is literally how, for me, like mentoring feels. And I feel like that is why that connection piece is so important. And people do need to see how you're living your life. They do need to see you sometimes in your pajamas, as much as people feel like it's not pristine. Like for me, like that's the reality of it. That's why a lot of the videos that I do on socials, I don't have makeup on, because that's my everyday. Like I'm not going to pretend that I'm glamour all the time, because I'm really not. You know, even recording this YouTube episode, I'm really not glamorous. And that's you know, for people that watch it on YouTube will see that, but obviously if you don't watch on YouTube, you'll just hear my voice. But I think I just love to keep it real for that reason, because and we're all different, so you know, how we view things will be based on our own individual, you know, interpretation and what we love. But I much resonate more with that. You know, if I'm watching someone, a coach, a mentor, a speech about, you know, whatever it is, whoever it is, if they're keeping it real with me, I'm like, yeah, they're the people that I'm into. Like I'm into that. So yeah, it's so important. And I'm glad that you've found that for yourself, because I think, you know, although confidence has played a part in this, like holding you back, I think that you're now in a space where you're not letting it define you. Do you know what I mean? You're like, you know what, I'm gonna get through this regardless. And it's really nice to hear that.
Pushing those barriers, isn't it? It's like I have made a point in 2023, it was my year to go to in-person events, like actually grow my network and just step outside my comfort zone, like not have to go to things because I know one other person going to it, like going to things on my own where I don't know any of the people in the room, but because I know that it's going to be an amazing experience and help to grow my network and connect with other like-minded people. Like that is so powerful. And I think I can't remember when it was I went, but the first one I went to this year, it was just so inspirational to surround myself with other people that are on the same kind of path, because where I do things like the school run and I'm just speaking to other mums that work in a part-time job, and it's just, you don't have that person that can relate to you. And even like my husband's really supportive, but he doesn't get what it's like to run your own business. So to actually be in a room with other people that are, it's just, it's really powerful. And then going to all the other events this year, and I'm now like, right, I'm gonna have to make this part of my business plan. Like every year I've got to go to all these things, because it's just amazing.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you as well, because that was really my thing, is that I've kind of got a few people that run businesses in my network, but like not to hand anymore. Like one of my best friends who does run a business, she's living in Australia now, so you know I can tap into her when I need to, but she's not around to, you know, do things with. And a lot of the other people that run businesses are men. So I feel like for me, I was like, I really want to go and connect. And yeah, that's been the most life-changing thing for me, is being in a room with that many women that are doing this and are really successful in it as well. It's just like a great indicator of obviously see what's available to you, you know. And I think it's like your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So I think that you being in those spaces is just, it's about, you know, cultivating this energy of like success and abundance and all of those things. And I think it's never a wrong thing, is it, to surround yourself with different people regardless. I think is great for the business to grow and for you to get out there and all of the things. But no, I completely agree. But I was gonna say as well, like, on everything you've been through, you know, in your journey in terms of finding your business, finding who you are, maybe even your confidence, like what would you say, like 3 top tips? It can either be in, you know, you as a person, or it can be in your business, how you managed to set that up. What would you kind of give to whoever's listening in this space?
I think it's like, find your own path. Like, what I would honestly think that every single person has different goals, aspirations, like what their end goal is. And for me, like my goals are always changing every single year and probably even every single quarter of the year. So I always think about where is it I'm trying to go, like in life and business, like what is the end result? What do I want to do? Like for me personally right now is I want to have the financial and time freedom. So I can do a job that I absolutely love that brings in the money, but most of the time I'm switched off in mum mode or going out for lunch or something with my husband, like when he's on a break, because he works from home. Like, but just having that flexibility to have that kind of lifestyle, I think it's not dictated to us like how we have our life. We don't have to go into a 9 to 5 where we're working until we're 60, 70 or whatever, and then we retire and then we don't want to do anything. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we can have this amazing lifestyle and go on all these amazing holidays and stuff. So I think it's just what is important to you as a person and having that vision of where you're trying to go to, like no matter what it is that you do, whether you're in a 9 to 5 or you're running your own business or you're a new mum, whatever. So I think that would be my top tip. Second one would be confidence. Just always work on your confidence, because it can be little things like writing down an affirmation every day. Like I find personally, if I've woken up and I'm feeling stressed, and I've definitely noticed things like hormonal changes throughout the month. There's times of the month where I'm just really anxious, and that is like the worst time for me to go live or do launches or anything like that, because I just don't have that mindset right. But just writing myself an affirmation and saying it out loud, like in the car, I get the kids to say it in the back of the car as well. Like, I'm making money with ease, or like whatever it is, or I'm an amazing boss woman. And then I've got the kids in the back saying, I'm an amazing boss woman.
Yeah, that's so cute.
I just think it's so powerful when you say it out loud and you do
Absolutely.
start to believe it. So that really does help to boost your confidence. And the third one, I just thought of one and now it's gone out of my head. Oh, how annoying. I think it's just like knowing your own genius, because there's always more for you out there. And I think no matter where you are in life, you have learned things over the years. There will be a skill that you know that you can teach to other people or help other people with, whether that's like supporting them for free or if you wanted to start your own business. There's always ways, and I think so many people get into their heads that if they want to launch their own business, it has to be a product, or I need to think of a product. And so many people go down the route of, I'm going to make cakes, or I'm going to do candles, or do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. But there's so many ways you can help people. I mean, you just have to look at like the coaching space now. Like a coach is not a coach. You can get hormonal menstrual coaches, you get business coaches, mindset coaches, confidence coaches, like fitness, health. Like there are so many different routes you can go down, but there is always something that you know. And I think a lot of women, particularly when you are going through a hormonal change in your life, like maybe you've just had children, because I know I lost my identity, completely lost it. Like my body had changed, my mindset changed, like things I used to love doing I couldn't do anymore because I had a child to look after. And it was then that journey of trying to find who I was again and knowing what lights me up and makes me tick, and then thinking about, well, how can I actually do those things, make money and help other people. So I think it's just think about what you're good at, what has your journey been, and even if you write it down, I found that really powerful, writing down all the things that you know, because there's probably way more things you know that you didn't even realize. Like for me, one of the random ones is I know like pretty much all the dog breeds. If you pointed out a dog breed for me on the street, I could tell you what it is. Like that is a useless skill for me in terms of my branding, but I've always been known as like the walking dog encyclopedia. But that is something that's I'm really passionate about. I've always been dog mad, and like I could launch a book, I could release books in dog breeds or something like it. There are so many ways that you can do things and make money online. It is just insane. Like literally the world is your oyster.
Yeah, I love all of that. And you're so spot on. And I love the dog breed thing, because you know what? You might get someone that has a dog pet business that needs to do this. And like, you know, there you go. And that'll come in hand. And also, I think it's great for, well, the kids will learn obviously that as well. But, you know, pub quizzes.
Yeah.
You might even need to know then. But
I'm
yeah,
always like, I'm useless in a pub quiz, but if there's a dog related question,
there you go. It's like, where's Jacquie? Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with everything you said then. I think, you know, like knowing your lane is so important, you know, in terms of like who you are, what you bring to the table. I get asked a lot of the time, like, how do I find my purpose? You are your purpose.
Yeah.
You know, who you are as a person and your skills are why you are here on this earth, you know. And I think you've basically summed that up in the things that you were saying there, and I absolutely agree. I think you need to write everything down, you know, have conversations about it as well, you know. If you've got someone you trust, like, you know, just, you can even ask them, what do you think I'm good at, you know, go through all of that. And the confidence piece, like affirmations really did, you know, change the way I thought about myself. But that was obviously on the back of me doing all of the work I was doing before. So it's almost like, for me, that those affirmations are a part of such a bigger thing, but it's so important, you know. And I think the fact that you can ingrain that in your kids from now is so important, and I love that, because that's really important to me. And with my niece, you know, I'm always saying these things to her as well, and she believes it. But at that age, they are confident and they do know who they are, and it's just wonderful that, you know, you can really instill that in them, because they're not going to grow up with, you know, maybe some of the complexes that we had, you know, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm really glad to, like, just hear all of those things out loud again, because these are all things that I say. So it's always nice when someone else says them too. I'm like, yes, this is why we do this stuff. It's so important. But what have you got going at the moment then, Jacquie? How can people work with you? Like, what's your plans for 2024?
So 2024, I'm launching my first ever course, which is my 12-month program, which is the VIP Business Boost Accelerator. So it's 6 months of learnings where you're going to learn how to build your brand, like really level up in your business, get more visibility. And then the next 6 months is taking action, like making sure you're implementing all the things you've learned. There are in-person events included, a brand shoot, and it's a whole 12 months working with me one-to-one. I will be launching it each year. This is going to be my kind of yearly program. But in between that, I've got my one-to-one design services for branding and website, and also my mentoring. So I've just released, actually, which I'm really excited about, is my brunch and brand sessions.
Nice.
So it's a one-to-one session with me where you get brunch, and then we go through your brand strategy and everything as well, because I really want to do some more mentoring to help people. So yeah, that's how you can work with me. And my Instagram is at Bailey Roo, if anyone wants to come and give me a follow on there.
Yeah, amazing. Well done for everything. I think it's great, everything you've put together. And I love the stuff that you do. And I love the way your branding looks as well. Like, you've definitely got your niche. You know, that I know that when it's your post that's come up because of the branding colours and things like that, which I think is great, isn't it? You know, to have that presence, which is amazing. But yes, anyone listening that has a business that's, you know, thinking about rebranding or wants to do all these things, like Jacquie is your woman for sure. Thank you for joining me. And I kind of, just before we kind of leave, I always do like a little bit of a soul to soul message. So, you know, it could be something that you would have said to your younger self. It could be something that you'd say maybe to your children. It could be something that you know someone listening needs to hear today. But yeah, what would be like a little message that you'd like to leave us with?
I think it would be like, the only thing that is stopping you getting to that dream is you. There are always little steps that you can take. Like, even if your dream is to have that amazing house, like that is possible for anybody. Like, literally anybody can have anything that is on your dreams list. It's just taking those little steps and working your way towards those end goals.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I always say, like, one step at a time, and it's that 1%. That 1% every day that you do just puts you on the trajectory of wherever you want to be. But yeah, thank you so much, Jacquie. It was so wonderful to have you.
Thank
and
you.
all of your offerings and descriptions will all be in the show notes for whoever's listening. And yes, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me.